If you had met me a few years ago, you probably would have been jealous. I was 28 years old, earning over $100,000 a year, and living what looked like the perfect life. Every payday felt amazing. The money hit my account, and for a moment, I felt like I was finally winning. Like all those years of hard work were paying off. The problem was, every time more money came in, I found new ways to spend it. Bigger income, bigger lifestyle, bigger mistakes. A nicer apartment, a newer phone, more dinners out. None of it felt dangerous. In fact, it felt completely normal. And that's what made it so dangerous. Because when everyone around you spends the same way, it's easy to believe you're doing just fine. Then one ordinary Tuesday night changed everything. No emergency, no disaster, just me, my phone, and a number I couldn't ignore anymore. I looked at my bank balance again, then again. Surely something had to be wrong. I was making over $100,000 a year, so why did I feel broke? The number on the screen didn't make sense. I blinked once, then twice, but the balance stayed exactly the same. $312. That was it. $312. After years of working hard, after countless late nights, after earning more money than I ever imagined. Somehow this was all I had left. That night I barely slept. Questions kept racing through my mind. Where had all the money gone? And more importantly, how long had this been happening? The next morning I opened my laptop and downloaded 6 months of bank statements. I wasn't looking for answers anymore. I was looking for the truth. At first, everything looked harmless. A coffee here, a subscription there, a quick online purchase. Nothing seemed expensive by itself. Then I opened my credit card statement. I expected a few surprises, but not this. The balance was so high, I just sat there, staring at the screen in silence. I kept asking myself the same question. How did this happen? I wasn't gambling. I wasn't buying sports cars. I was just living, like everyone else. That's when something finally clicked. None of those purchases looked expensive on their own, but together, they were quietly stealing my future, $1 at a time. A few days later, I called an old friend from college. We earned almost the same salary, yet somehow, he never seemed worried about money. We met for lunch that weekend. He arrived in an old car, wearing a simple t-shirt and jeans. Nothing about him looked rich, and that made me even more curious. Halfway through lunch, I finally asked, "How are you always so calm about money?" He smiled, put down his coffee, and looked straight at me. He smiled and said, "Because I stopped trying to look rich and started trying to become wealthy." Those words hit me harder than I expected. He pulled out his phone and showed me his investment account. It wasn't millions of dollars, but it was growing, month after month, without fail. "I don't buy things to impress people," he said. "I buy assets that quietly make me richer while I sleep." I had never thought about money that way. That conversation stayed in my mind all night. For the first time, I realized making money and building wealth were two completely different skills. The next morning, I made myself a promise. I wasn't going to chase the appearance of success anymore. I was finally going to build the real thing. My journey didn't begin with investing. It began with something much simpler, telling every single dollar exactly where it needed to go. That weekend, I canceled subscriptions I hadn't used in months. It wasn't about saving a few dollars. It was about proving to myself that I was finally taking control. The changes felt small at first. Brewing coffee at home, cooking instead of ordering food, saying no to things I didn't really need. But every choice started adding up. 1 month later, something happened that hadn't happened in years. My bank balance was actually growing instead of shrinking. It wasn't much, but it was progress. I called my friend to tell him the good news. He congratulated me, then smiled and said, "Now comes the important part." "Saving money is only the first step," he said. "If you want real freedom, your money has to start working for you." The next day, I opened my very first investment account. I wasn't trying to get rich overnight anymore. I was finally thinking about the next 20 years. For the first time in my life, I invested real money. It wasn't a huge amount, but to me, it felt like I had just taken the biggest risk of my life. A week later, I opened my investment account. The numbers were red. My money was going down. My heart started racing almost immediately. I almost sold everything that same day. Every part of me wanted to run. I thought I had just made the biggest financial mistake of my life. Before I pressed the button, I called my friend. He listened quietly, then laughed. Not because I was losing money, because he knew exactly what I was feeling. He said, "The stock market doesn't reward people who panic. It rewards people who stay patient, even when it's uncomfortable." So I closed the app. I stopped checking the market every single day, and for the first time, I simply let time do its job. Weeks turned into months. I stopped chasing quick results. Instead, I focused on building better habits. Slowly, my financial life started to feel different. One morning, I checked my investment account again. This time, the numbers were green. It wasn't a fortune, but it was proof that patience worked. For the first time, my money earned money. It wasn't because I got lucky. It was because I finally gave my investments enough time to grow. I wasn't becoming rich overnight, but every month I was becoming stronger financially. And honestly, that felt even better. Then I started building an emergency fund. 6 months of expenses. Something I had ignored for years suddenly became my biggest priority. Something unexpected happened after that. I stopped worrying about every little expense. Having a safety net gave me something money couldn't buy: peace of mind. A year passed. My debt was shrinking. My savings were growing. And for the first time, I wasn't living paycheck to paycheck anymore. Nothing about my salary had changed. I still earned the same amount. The only thing that changed was how I treated every dollar. Looking back, I realized something. My biggest financial problem was never my income. It was the habits I repeated every single day. I used to think rich people spent more money. Now I understood something completely different. Wealthy people protect their money first. The expensive watch, the luxury car, the designer clothes. None of those things could buy the feeling of financial freedom. Freedom wasn't driving a nicer car. Freedom was knowing I could handle life's surprises without falling apart financially. Today, I still enjoy life. I still travel. I still buy things I love. The difference is, I never spend tomorrow's money today. The funny thing is, people think I became richer because I earned more money. The truth is, I simply became better with the money I already had. If you're earning a good salary but still feel broke, trust me, I know exactly how that feels. Because I lived it. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to invest thousands of dollars. You just have to make one better decision than you made yesterday. Because wealth isn't built in a single day. It's built through hundreds of small choices that nobody else ever sees. The day I stopped trying to look rich was the day I finally started becoming wealthy, and that decision changed my life forever. Here's the lesson I wish someone had taught me years ago. Making more money won't change your life unless you change the way you manage it. Build better habits, stay patient, and let time become your greatest investment. Remember, don't chase the lifestyle, chase financial freedom. Subscribe to Jess Invest for more real money stories.